Namaste. Welcome to Atharv Forum. Those who have not subscribed to this channel yet, I request you to please do so. Today we have one of the most distinguished guests, a very senior thinker, intellectual, who wears multiple turbans, Padma Vibhushan, Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi ji with us.
नमस्कार, आपके इस चैनल में उपस्थित होने के लिए मुझे बहुत आनंद है.
He is a well-known figure, doesn't require any introduction, but the decorum demands that I very briefly introduce him. He has been several times MP, and he has been the Minister of the then Human Resource and Development, whose avatar today we call it as Ministry of Education. A physicist by training, PhD in spectroscopy. In fact, he had a teaching stint at Allahabad University as well. He has worked tirelessly to strike a balance between the science that existed in the ancient and the medieval India, and not just as a retrospective outlook, but of how to integrate that with the current curriculum and take India forward in the modern scientific policies as well. So welcome you, sir, to this forum.
Thank you for this invitation.
In India, the civilization aspect, we have given utmost importance to acquiring education. Basic numeracy literacy has been widely accessed in the past, but when it comes to higher education, it was the interest of the individual who wanted to gain specialized education, so went to the individual gurus and got it. That was the thing in the past. But even then we have a Subhashita which says that Guru Shushrushaya Vidya Pushkalena Dhanena Va Athava Vidyaya Vidya Chaturtham Nopalabhyate. So we had this in our culture. And what I would like to know from you is your broad outlook on the status of education, the scientific development that we had in the ancient and medieval India.
Well, you see, people generally consider that modern science is the real science. And before the advent of Descartes and Newton, they feel that there was no science. Some of them have been talking about science in Egypt, or even science in some countries like Babylonia, Mesopotamia. And generally the Western people had ignored the Indian science, Indian education, and the integration of science and education in India. Firstly, I would like to state that the Gurukul system, about which people generally talk, was an integrated system along with the political, economic and philosophical systems. It's not one thing, something which is in isolation. That has to be remembered. In the ancient India, the duty was not only confined to one part of the society. Everyone was to contribute towards the bringing out a wonderful citizen for the service of society as well as for the service of humanity. Therefore, the aims were well decided. Nobody could usurp them. The aim was to create a wonderful individual. An individual was fully developed physically, mentally, intellectually, and even spiritually. Therefore, the basic aim of education in ancient India was quite different from what you call today as an education. As you have said about the process of education, how we delivered, there were two things what I would say. Firstly, the aim of Vidya was described by one simple shloka. Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. That is, the Vidya is one which takes you out from all inhibitions, your free mind, intellectually free mind. And then how to learn it? pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So the method was also very clear. You're free to question, free to talk, prashnena, pariprashnena. But before that, pranipatena, that you have to be humble. The humility was one of the most important ingredients of a Shishya. Then the Guru has to give him the full knowledge. Pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Sevaya doesn't mean here to pay some money, but sevaya means to remain obedient to his orders. If he says, you go and study this, you will have to study that. For example, the story of Jivaka during Takshila. Jivak finished his studies, approached his Acharya and said, now I am a learned person by your grace, but now I have to give you some Gurdakshina. Tell me what I have to do for you. Then it says, you see, you are an expert in Ayurveda. So you, Jivaka, you go around this Takshila over 1 yojan and find out anything, any herb, shrub, tree or whatever it is, which is harmful to human beings. The Jiva goes. After some time he comes back, sir, I have done it. And in the process I have now converted anything which was injurious into anything which is now beneficial. So sir, now am I qualified to become a Vaidya and get your perfect Ashirvadam? So now this is the secret of the whole thing was to prepare a man not only to become an intelligent human being, but a spiritual human being, and also one who is committed to the social benefit, to the service to the society, and in fact also to the service to the humanity. This is why after the Jivak became such a big physician and performed so many miraculous operations. So the basic idea was first to create a mind which was free from all bondages. Sa vidya ya vimukte. You have no inhibitions. You are free, you can question. You can question even your teacher. You can question your, what you call, secret books. Ye kaise hua? How did it? And that's why you say in the Rig Veda, the whole thing starts from a question. From where did this come? He says, it comes from water. Water, it came from Agni. Agni, it came from Vayu. Vayu, it comes from Akash. And Akash, then he said, that I don't know. Who knows it? Perhaps the Creator knows it. And then pauses for a moment and says, I don't know whether he also knows it or not. So the questioning, doubting, understanding, everything is ingrained in this great Vedic Sutra. So these 2-3 things explain fully the basic concept of Indian education. Then it was completely free from any monetary conditions. Everybody was given similar education. There was no distinction whether you're a king or whether you're a pauper or whether you're a street vendor, whosoever you are. These concepts I'm saying are very, very old concepts in India. Education is free without a difference of color or even money, because the education was similar and simple to everybody. That's how India became great, not by slogan mongering.
But when you were narrating this Jivaka's episode, that's where one more Subhashita comes to my mind, where in a tradition we believe that amantram aksharam nasti, nasti moolam anaushadham. Ayogyah purusho nasti, yojakas tatra durlabha. So there I, in my limited capacity, I see you as a yojaka, where during your term as a minister, with all these ethos, with this much of understanding of the depth, you tried to integrate this with the education, what we call as a modern education. Because all said and done, we have had an interim period of invasion as well as British colonialization, where the education was imparted to produce a particular sect of people subservient to a particular task. Now, with all this in the interim background, when you take up the helm of affair as a Minister of Human Resource Development, you did initiate a lot of programs, lot of research activities, lot of reforms at the policy level. So can you please briefly give us this?
Most important point was to create an ethos of education to the common man. Because the Indian, what we say, development of Indian society was always to create a good human being. And for that, the most important tool is education. So the first thing I wanted to create a system in which education is available to every child. It is a fundamental right of a human being. It is a fundamental right. People generally say, food is the fundamental right. Yes. Labor is the fundamental right. Yes. Some money, earning money, employment is the fundamental right. Yes. But to my mind, the most important right for a human being is education. Because if the person has an education, he can create anything. He can create jobs, he can create knowledge, he can create infrastructure, create a system of providing education to every child. So, introduced a new article in Indian Constitution that any child has a right to have an education free of cost up to the age of 14 years. That's how we started. The next problem was food. Bhooke bhajan na hoy Gopala. There is mind, there is brain, but after all there is body also now, so needs a nourishment. So we started a system by the name of midday meal. This was, as a matter of fact, was a scheme which was originally initiated by Tamil Nadu government.
Kamaraj.
Yeah. But then I found that this is a scheme which has to be given a universal appliance. So we created a midday meal scheme. Every child in the school would get free meal, cooked free meal. And for that we created. So that was the second thing. And the third was the health. Because a child must also be healthy. So we created certain systems of creating, you see, healthcare, especially for girl child, women, because if the mother is healthy, the child will also be a healthy one. So these things were fundamental for creating a base for a good human being to be studied. That's how we started. Then certain schemes which were designed to create not only good human beings but also what you call, say, good soldiers, good technicians, good teachers, good scholars, good scientists. So different type of educations were started. One of the most important institution was the starting of triple IIT. Because we understood, by the government understood in those days, that this information technology is the future of the science. So we started. The first informationist IIT was started within 19 months of its clearance from the government, it came into being and started. But this is one part of it. The other thing was how to integrate it with ancient education. So I created one IIT in Kanchi. That was an institution which integrated IIT with Vedic science. And one of the conditions was that whosoever will take that course will have to also undergo training in Vedic sciences and all those things. So that was established in Kanchi. So that was integration like this. That shows that the idea was to take up the ancient and the modern together. Again, I feel here that the ancient science, especially what you call nowadays as the hard science, was very much developed in India. But it was not open to everybody. That is one thing we must keep in mind when people say, oh, this was not that. The reason was that that science can be used for the good and as well as for the bad. So any person who want to practice those sciences would have to go a rigorous training and would prove that it will be used only and only for the purposes of human good. Otherwise, he was not allowed. There are numerous incidents which you can find out in our literature where even a person got the new knowledge by fraud. He was also given a curse that at the time of use you will forget it. Now, this is all that shows the complete understanding of human mind and also the necessity of having a well-trained person and also for avoiding its misuse. Now, the tradition comes right up to now. In Kerala, there is a village, Aranmala. This Aranmala village produces metallic mirrors of very high grade, with technology. No fine polishing, having such a high grade of metal surface, and then creating radiations and testing those, but they produced it. While I was passing through that village, I asked those people, do you have it? Yes, we have it. Can you show me? Yes, they showed it. Then I called the science secretary, okay, go to that village and see. The science secretary said, well, we never knew it, that it exists in India. Then they tried to get the secret of their producing that wonderful metallic mirror. They refused. No, sir, you are not qualified from my lineage. Not be given to you, sir. And whatever is the good or bad of this system, that knowledge is still with them, and they have not parted to a science secretary. And in the earlier case, the most important case was to find when this Panchang system was there. Some missionaries, they were trying to understand the secrets behind a Panchang. They could understand it. What the tables mean, what these numbers mean, these figures, the figure of a moon or a sun or a planet. So they wanted to know. Approached a Pandit. He refused. No. Why? You are not qualified, sir. And then, as you know, the foreigners, they try to create all sorts of shenanigans, well, this way, that way. And by some process, they could understand some part of it, but not of the whole Panchang. And then they forward that Panchang to their scientists in their countries, which was later on analyzed by the royal astronomer, Sir John Playfair. And he found yes, this, all these figures completely refer to the observed figures of today within the limits of error. So my point is this, that they preserved the knowledge, only transferred it to the person who was qualified to it. This part is not understood by the Indian scholars who talk about Indian systems or Indian pedagogy or Indian value system. The education is not only for making you an expert. Yes, it is. But also to convince you that your knowledge, this knowledge is only and only for the human good. This is the most significant, I think, observation which we must always remember about Indian system.
There are a couple of opening ups that I need to do for the younger generation in your response about this question. First is that many of generation, the last 20 years, believe the author of RTE to be somebody else, whereas the origin comes from here is a big revelation. Otherwise, their understanding about this right to education coming into the constitution is attributed to somebody else. But it is glad that we are able to hear it from your mouth. It's a big revelation for the current generation, I would say. On this aspect of the qualified person getting the education, how that was a system and it followed, and you gave beautiful examples. There is an adage in Sanskrita that evam ashishyaya na deyam. So that has been followed, but people have discussed it in a different way. But due to colonial intervention, again I am going back to the colonial part, because what I gather or what is largely known is that there were this imperial positions, recruitments, and oriental recruitments, and then the third one was Samskrita based recruitments, and each one had its own salary slabs where the imperial led at the top pinnacle and the other ones had minuscule fraction amount of salary being paid. The famous case of Jagdish Chandra Bose being so much qualified, still not getting an imperial posting, whereas he got only the oriental posting, for which he had also sat in kind of today what we can call dharna, by working without drawing any wages, but then later he had. Same fate followed for P.C. Ray, that he had the oriental posting and not the imperial posting. The point that I am trying to drive home here is, with this much of intervention during your ministership, you said you wanted to make again education accessible for all. And yet through this intervention of triple ITs, how integrating ancient and modern thing. Now at least two decades have gone by since that intervention. When you look back, what do you see, how it has grown, where are we today with respect to those interventions that you made?
Interesting question. Firstly, I find that the new education policy which has come does not integrate the ancient thought of Indian education system with the modern means the current situation. It appears that something which is taken from this, from there, it is a jumbled up policy. I won't, but what I find today is that an educated person in India today reminds me of a very old incident. In Allahabad University, postgraduate examination, an essay topic was the utility of higher education in India. And that is, I am talking of sometimes in 70s, before the emergency. This incident took place there. And he wrote one line: the only utility of higher education in India lies in its futility. Now this copy of this gentleman was placed before the moderation committee. This has now come. What do you do about it? There is one full essay to be written. The paper is for an essay. He has written an essay. He has made the subject everything, and he has given a full stop. How to judge it now? So this is why I know about that incident. So I think sometimes that with many commissions and this and that, and many attempts to change or dismantle or reorient, whatever you call it, the situation remains like that. Even after our small interregnum of say 6-7 years, whatever we did is no more exist now. It doesn't exist now. Appointments of people who are not qualified at the highest posts, even of the vice chancellors. Appointments of persons who are rejected by the selection committee, but by the intervention of the government, have been appointed at the higher posts of vice chancellors. No, this will not take you anywhere. This is what I find. In my own University of Allahabad, a vice chancellor was appointed who was rejected by the selection committee. I said, no, not qualified. One of the members had given a written note, no. But even then, the person was appointed. And now what happens is that there is an order by that vice chancellor that retired persons of that university, unless there is very acute reason, very solid reason, should not be allowed to come to the faculty or even allowed to be teach, unless they are given sanction from the vice chancellor. So now I myself am not now in a position to enter my own department without the permission from the dean, or dean will seek the permission from the vice chancellor. I am finding these things. What the curriculum will do later on, I don't know, because those institutions have not yet seen the light of the day. But this is happening.
On these inevitable human factors that come in, I would still like to pick your brain on the technological aspect of India. You mentioned about this Aranmula mirror, and you also resorted to the fact that either the makers of Aranmula mirror or the Panchanga Kartas, they would not like to part with the knowledge with anybody who is not qualified. But don't you see that as current, what is in vogue called the patent part? Because now if I invent something, I go to the patent office and patent it, and unless somebody comes, shows interest, pays a royalty, that will not be moved. So do you see a parallel between those Kula Dharmas, about whatever it is called, they were maintaining it, and between the patent that we are currently aware of?
This is my invention. Now something very, according to me or according to the Indian Hindu concepts, this is not understandable, because knowledge is not created by me. When I say that I have created a painting, how? I have created a flower or a scenery or or some idea. This is already existing. So knowledge is Jnanam Brahmam. So knowledge is always present in the universe. Because the Brahm is itself knowledge. Jnana is Brahm. And the knowledge is there. So the knowledge cannot be patented, should not be patented. How can you say you are trying to observe something which you have not created and which is open? In the Indian system, you could create a knowledge, and if you have created a knowledge, you will have then to say that yes, this is a knowledge I have learned. Can I use it? That's the point. When he says, sir, I have done it, yes, am I now certified to become a qualified person to use this? He said, no, yes, you can use it only like this. Because the knowledge is there, but you cannot usurp it. You cannot make a personal property of it. Therefore, the patent which gives you a personal property, personal authority over it, I think I have opposed it even when I was a member of parliament during this, when this Dunkel draft and globalization system came. I said, no, this is wrong. Because in our case, you see the knowledge, everything knowledge was knowledge in the public domain. So I created that system which you call the traditional knowledge digital library. That this knowledge is already open from public domain. The Haldis is used, the name is used, and so many other formulations are used in Ayurveda. And even our old women, they use most of those formulations to treat a small child or whatever. Older ladies used to medicines to treat many of those diseases of those days. So this knowledge is not your personal. This is universal. This is open to all. Talk of the modern knowledge. Our scientists created one Simputer. Simputer was a handheld computer. And it worked on icons and on sound. So an illiterate person can also use it. A person who wants to talk can also learn languages and speaking from it. 4 or 5 languages were inserted in that. And it was online with a restriction. If you are a rich country, you will have to pay so much. If you are a developing country, it is free for you. Now, this is the approach of Indian scientists. Later on, when we departed from the government, all these things, they vanished. But the idea was to create a, say, Vedic system and technology, IIT. The idea was to create these instruments open for all.
It may border a little bit of controversy, because we get accounts of these from only reading the literature, not from directly interacting with the practitioners. And myself being a student of chemistry and yourself also as a physicist, when we talk of this ancient science and technology with respect to modern, is conversion of the base, transmutation of the base metals to gold. And especially given the skyrocketing price of gold today, if this transmutation thing can be really realized, it will obviously add to the economy. But I have my own understanding of this process, given the thermodynamics, the energetics involved in a nuclear transformation and energetics involved with a chemical reaction. I have my own limited understanding of the impossibility of this. But this is widely discussed in our both the ancient literature, so much to the extent that there is even a Shila Lake in the BHU Vishwanath Mandir constructed by Malviya ji, where this process is also kind of documented. So what is your take on this particular aspect?
Transmutation.
Transmutation of base metals to gold.
But see, Ayurvedic literature, there was also one reference once in the Birla temple here. And that gentleman was ready to demonstrate how to convert gold from that bija. The bij is the main thing which the Ayurvedic literature says, from mercury into gold. He was ready to demonstrate it, and it was then decided that the experiment will be performed before Shri P.C. Ray. Unfortunately, he was very ill, not in a position to. And he said, yes, as soon as I'm okay, I'm out of bed, I will. But he died. So there is no further confirmation whether this can be done or not, because it could not be proved before a modern scientist. But there is a reference to it. See this Ras Sindoor and Siddha Makradhwaj. In that the Ayurvedic pharmacists, especially those who perform the preparation of Siddha Makradhwaj, they show it. But personally, I would say that this has to be then confirmed in a sense that yes, we also as a modern student of science accept this or not, that this transmutation can take place. But I feel because the Ayurvedic people have been doing it and have shown traces. I am not a practitioner, used to have his own pharmacy. And they were specialized people. Yes, if you want to have this medicine, that fellow gives you a better grade, that fellow gives you this one. I've seen those persons here. I've seen their those Ayurvedic furnaces and there's what you call beakers and all those things. But I can't say ki only this part, ki whether any modern scientist has accepted it or not. But up to this point I have seen, and I have also seen this Shilalekh, they are there. Now it is the duty of the modern chemists to prove it. There lies the catch, na? We say, no, because P.C. Ray couldn't prove it, therefore Ramakrishna will not be able to prove it or will not accept it. Where we have to say, yes, it is there. It could not be demonstrated. I will try and prove it. If it is true, it's all right. If it is false, it is all right. We don't claim that everything which has been written is truth.
On that note, sir, I mean, this is a process in evolution. As you rightly said, that its onus is on us now to take it up and do it. But don't you think there is also a nuance of linguistics involved in that? Because I have dabbled into this in a little significant detail. Because even in Arthashastra, they talk of 16 varieties of gold. And in terms of caratage, it may be 22 to all the way up till 8 carat. So in a 9 carat gold, the gold is, percentage of gold in that alloy is less than 50%. But still it is called gold. So somewhere down the line, the linguistics that are in play, for instance, there is one, Kimasya chitram rasakam rasena rajaswalayaha kusumena bhavitam kramena kritva uragena ranjitam karoti shulvam triputena kanchanam. So Shulva getting converted into Kanchana is described. But actually here Kanchana is used as a metaphor to describe the formation of the brass, because copper with zinc is going to give you the brass. So Samit, the point that I am trying to make here is, we had different purities of gold. So today when we look at things in the hindsight, perhaps what is given as gold, we are taking it as the purest form of gold and we are trying to look for it.
What I say is this, that it is not whether it is a purest point of the gold. If it is a combination, if it is an alloy, just like say the brass becomes very shining yellow thing. It's one thing different. It's not transmutation. It is only an alloy. It is a mixture of two. But here what he is saying is that mercury is transmuted into gold. This is a process which has to be now proved by experiment and repetition of experiment. Because merely one experiment will not convince anybody of today's mental understanding. We have to do it. Say, I give you an example for it. Abrak bhasma. Abrak is mica. Now it is given as a medicine in Ayurveda. But no doctor today will dare touch it, abrak. But they would, by treating it with so many other things, and when they do it, they take it and calcinate it with some rasa of some of the herbs and calcinate it. So this is only one aputi mica, abrak bhasma. It's not yet completely bhasma. But then they say when you do it 10 times, it becomes more powerful. 100 times, shataputi, then sahasraputi. The same process of calcination, you go on repeating. You create one, then. Now I have always been asking people that this is the first instance of a nano medicine ever used by anywhere. But then how to prove it? It can be easily proved. One of my research fellows in those days, you discussed those problems, but we didn't have a very high-powered microscope. The electron microscope came later on. So by the time we did some experiments, and we did find that the electron field becomes more powerful, larger and larger. You go on taking from 1 putti to 10 putti or to 100 putti. We didn't get any 1000 putti, but shat putti we got it. And we found. So that means the power to penetrate, the energy, the frame is already there. This will explain. Now if you do it with a high power microscope, electron microscope, perhaps, but nobody cares to do it now. I say that we can prove so many things now with the modern appliances. For example, your food habits. Chutney. In South, grinding. It is generally prescribed that don't use almonds as a one full seed, but why? He'll say, you may take 10 almonds, it will become very powerful if you do it by grinding. And the more you grind, the more powerful it is. The molecular surfaces become larger.
Surface area.
So the energy is known to them, but not through an electron microscope. Even you see I don't know whether somebody will understand it or not. The preparation of this, what you call the mungori and badi, the moong ki dal ka, it is told that you grind it. As much as you grind, it will be lighter. Then they say, take it and keep it on a surface with water on it and go on doing like it. And the more you do it, the lighter is the product. Why? The idea of converting into nanoparticles is there. And in the food. So all these ideas were known. But now, if I say that this is the understanding of the importance of nanoparticles. We'll say now because nanoparticles are now known, you are saying like it. But those people didn't know that there was a nanoparticle. But they know it, that a particle can be reduced to the finer and the finer parts, and it becomes more energetic, more powerful, more useful. So the idea of using all these experiences was there, and might have been recorded in some other places also. But the Ayurveda says it do like this. The preparation of this
Anjana.
Anjan. You know the real method of producing it is to, they say that take either a copper plate or an earthen, virgin earthen cup and place it over the wick of a neem oil wick, not on onion oils. And then cover it, and especially on the Deepavali day. This is how this, to create it a little more, you see, I think, to keep the people understand the real value of this, they say do it like this. And then scrap this. And with a very fine feather, they say it from a feather. As-e you can't scratch it by any other feather. So you don't destroy those particles. Take it, mix it with cow ghee, not an ordinary ghee, but ordinary or prepared by first churning and this and that, and take it this buttermilk, mix these two things, and then perform the same thing which you perform with your body. And the more you do it, the more efficacious is the Anjan. Now all these things exist. Now this is the duty of a scientist like you who is studying chemistry, to see whether they do reflect a scientific principle or they are just do.
We looked at technology, we looked at the importance of education. One of the other major groundbreaking intervention during your ministerial phase was to bring down the fee structure of the higher education. Well, of course, it had its own implications and it had its own interesting outcomes. But today, given this intervention of slashing down almost 1/3 to what it was existing in the higher education, now today the cost of education has also really gone completely blown up. In both the public sector and more so in the private sector. So how do you see this this current growth in the cost of the higher education, and where are we heading to?
The government today has taken out its hands from the entire field of education and has handed it over slowly and now very rapidly to the private sector. There is no fundamental right of education today. There are no rural schools. 90,000 rural schools were shut up last few years, and maybe now they must have gone more than 1 lakh. So now even in a small village you will find some sort of what you call education through English medium. And you'll see the names like that, the St. Mary School, kindergarten school. You won't find any Bharadwaj Guru or Angiras Guru or there. No. Delink it from the mother tongue, delink it from the government's own. Why? This is how it then goes up to, if the universities are said or IITs are said, find out your own sources. This is completely against Indian tradition. Or anywhere in the world. In most countries, at least the secondary education is completely run by the state government. And even for the higher education, even the America, a large number of higher educational schools or institutions are funded by the American government. That's why their fees is low. I started the same thing. I created a academic and financial audit of IIMs and IITs. 2 committees were appointed. One by the former Mr. Shonglu, the other was appointed by under the leadership of Shri P.R. Rao, who was the former Secretary of Space. And they did a miraculous job. Shonglu inquired how much you are teaching, what is your cost, what is your content. The IIMs were not producing any research. They were simply wobbling and gobbling which was called the uchist of the American systems and transferring to our students in the name of high management training. And in turn, they were getting a large number of reports to be made or for this ministry or for that ministry or for that company and earning huge amount. And they were charging enormous fees. IITs were not charging so much fees, but they were. Mr. Rao found out that the average fees in America was commensurate with the per capita income. So that came out to be $8,000 in those days. It turned out to be something like 38,000 rupees in India. So I said, now the fees are rationalized. IIM's fees will be 30,000 rupees. Today, they are charged 5 lakhs for 1 semester. And 2 semesters or 3 semesters in a year, how much? 50 lakhs, 30 lakhs. And 2 years, because now the government has withdrawn, anybody who is now providing education is providing for money. They say, we have invested, therefore we must get our dividend. And what the result has happened is this. Just 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine was discussing about the present situation, the education situation in India. He said, Dr. Joshi, one of my close friends is a professor. He came to my house. So I introduced my son to him. After the professor left, I scolded my son that you see that such a big professor had come. You have not paid any respects to him. This is not done. Then I said, Papa, what are you saying? They charge money and they deliver something. Why should I pay anything? I pay, I get. Why should I give any respect to him? He's not teaching me for free. So the result is there. Now, if you want to create a society like this, well, you are fine. If you show in your internet that a small kid, Papa, give me my mobile, or else I phone to police. This is what is shown in the reels. And then to expect that somebody will respect the teachers or even their parents or even himself, his own personality, even nothing, it will not happen at all. So the best thing is you first decide what type of citizen you want to create. Unfortunately, the present state of Indian situation is that it has no direction. What do you want to? I was asked to deliver a lecture by a public school. I said, for whom you are teaching? And for what you are teaching? And for what you are teaching and what for you are learning? Vidyadadati venyam venyadyati patram, you have forgotten about it. Pranipatena pariprashnin, you have forgotten about it. The sa vidyaya vimukte is found about it. Try to know that which gives you the power to speak, to look and all that, you have forgotten about it. So you are now creating a society in which everybody wants to earn more money. It's a materialistic society. And now you want to mix the value system of a spiritual society with a material society, you are confused, this or that. The goals of a materialistic society are totally different from a spiritual society or an ethical society if you don't want to use the word spiritual.
On that note, yes, we have gone disarrayed in many places, but it is perhaps, in my opinion, interventions and timely advices from giants like you who have struck both the paths of the life, I would say, having had deep entrenched knowledge about the ancient and the current educational system. So it may be perhaps be true that we are confused, we are perhaps mixing up, but through such interventions we seek to have clarity, and for that I express on the channel's behalf and on my personal behalf a big thank you to you to have spared time to interact with us on these topics and to have given the direction. If there is any final message that you would like to give from how to proceed from here.
We must try to understand the civilizational consciousness of this country and this civilizational journey which this country has taken over thousands of years. Unless you are in tune with that, you can't have any system, educational, political, economic, or anything. It must be in tune with that. Or else you decide we have completely snapped our relationships with that and we are having a new society, a new understanding of universe. Well, that will be, I have no objection if you go that way. But so long you say that India is a civilizational society for so many thousands of years, but where is that society? Where is that civilization? Where is that ethical or moral value? So the idea is, my simple point is this, that please be in tune with that. That civilization itself was a highly progressive civilization. It was telling you that mind be free. It is a Tagore who has said it, let mind be free. Bring me that in that space. But then to say that no, the mind has only one aspect to earn how to more money, well, all right, you can do it. If your thoughts are only to have how to enjoy a beautiful girl, well, you can go and do it. No fine, no question.
Very true. That's why in still some corners of our intellectual society, even till the current time, there is still adherence to this fact that when people say Sadashiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Paramparam. So that is what is reflected in your statement also, that let us align ourselves to this continuous unavarat ethos of our civilizational past, if we have to stick to that. Otherwise we will stay confused.
The only thing which I say is that please get out first from your this colonial mindset that whatever is happening today is modern, is an improvement on something. No, it is a journey. It is one dhara, but may not be the Piyush dhara.
True. So, thank you very much, sir, for your time. And I request those who have not subscribed to the Atharva Forum channel to kindly subscribe. Thank you very much. Namaste.